Okay. I'm going to recall the meeting to order because I'm not sure that it was recording. So we'll do 6:36. We will call the meeting to order. Again, I apologize. We were a little delayed because of another meeting. I had just, Andrew, introduced Kay Carnahan as our new commissioner for Beach 1 and Beach 2. And just a couple of other announcements. City Hall will be closed on Friday, April 2nd in observance of Good Friday. The Tulip Fest Committee has had a meeting, and the city and the chamber are going to move forward with Tulip Fest with some modifications because of COVID, but that will open up on April 2nd, Friday. The chamber has gotten the maps together where all of the tulips can be seen in each of the parks. Lewis and Bloom will be holding their tulip sale in front of Citizens Bank on the 2nd and the 3rd of April. And that's always a nice opportunity. There will not be a photo contest this year, and there will not be trolley tours due to the COVID restrictions. The Historical Society will be doing tours through the city, and I believe that Lewis and Bloom, and correct me if I'm wrong, Warren, will be doing a docent with the Historical Society as they go through the city and looking at the gardens and the tulips as well.
I didn't know they were going to do the trolley tour.
No, they're not doing the trolley tour. The trolley tour is canceled. I believe it was discussed that the historic.
Well, the docent is for what? Walking?
Yes, for the Lewis Historical Society doing tours through the city.
Oh, I'm not aware of Lewis and Bloom participating in that.
Okay.
We probably are, but I haven't been informed. But
okay, well, the Historical Society is doing tours through the city. So, but the trolley tour is canceled. So those were the announcements that I had for tonight. If anybody else has announcements, if not, we'll move through the agenda. And it should be fairly brief tonight. And Andrew, for you, Barry is excused tonight. He did call earlier and said that he had a conflict.
No worries. I think Rodney and I were there for the pickleball. I think at this point, still at the stage of trying to identify a potential site. Rodney did a good job of kind of putting a schematic together, but then trying to find a spot of land in Lewis is challenging. So one of the things we talked about the last meeting was still continuing. State Park was one of the areas that we looked at. And then the idea of maybe putting some additional, and this is probably something that we might want to talk about in this committee, maybe even hold some type of public input. We talked about putting stripes on the basketball courts that may be able to accommodate pickleball, like if you brought in portable nets. And the idea would be that maybe in the morning, like an 8 to 10 session, you could have it just for pickleball. Day you maybe reserve for basketball. So it's probably something we want to vet. Basketball input. That's certainly folks who use that court and
temporarily.
Right.
What's that, Rodney? I'm sorry.
Temporarily. It was a
Yeah.
temporary measure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Harry, you have a question?
Was Barry at this discussion about the basketball court?
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Okay. That's my question.
Yeah, no worries. The other thing that's probably, we did vote on going with that premier court. And there's been some feedback, but maybe that's not a preferable court for pickleballers, but then we did some research and apparently it is a good surface. So the main thing is there was only one company that was able to bid on doing the court. So awarding the contract from that perspective was easy enough. And we've contracted for the premier court. So if at the end of the day, we do end up going with the less expensive court, so be it. But I think the Premier Court, the other advantage to it is it came with a warranty. And I think that was a pretty big deal to have that, to give the lifespan of the court. So that's really, Rodney, did I miss anything in terms of update?
I don't think so. I think Barry was going to approach, or was it you, John, at the university?
I think that was, Barry was going to do that.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
About the possibility of seeing if they would enter into a discussion about putting the pickleball, a dedicated pickleball play area out there on university property.
yeah, there was discussion about the monument area as well across the street and parking and whatnot. So between Barry and I will both follow up on that.
Right.
I think there was anything else. Can we just step back in the agenda and do the approval of the minutes for the February 22nd meeting? Did everybody have an opportunity to review those?
Yeah, I did, but I just have one little change.
Okay,
On page 2, under my discussion, the second item, it says delivered a digital system. It should be developed a digital.
okay.
Just that's my only change.
Okay, so with the correction of that, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes.
Thank you, Rodney.
I second.
Lou, thank you. Harry, you're muted. Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So we'll go to the commissioners' reports, any updates on activities, projects, volunteer hours. Warren, would you like to start us off on that?
Okay, met Mary Vessels and 1812 Parks. The Lewis and Bloom patrons have done a little tidying up, a little fertilizing of the pansies. I noticed that some of the early bulbs are starting to bloom in the sidewalk bed at 1812 Park. I would say the tulips are a good week behind last year. I don't think there'll be any tulips in bloom the first week of the tulip celebration. I think color will probably start around Easter Sunday, which is what, the 12th or 10th, something like that.
Actually,
Oh, no, Easter's the first week.
Yeah,
So
Easter's
it'll be the
early this
second
year.
week of the tulip celebration. Yeah. They're going to be later this year.
Thank you, Warren. Rodney, Canalfront Park.
Yes, just very briefly, I think the trees have been ordered, I think. I talked to Patrick Olson, who said he expects to be planting them about the first week of April. They won't be dug before then.
Right,
And that's 3 black gum or tupelos, whatever name you prefer, and 1 willow oak.
correct. Yes, he's going to be removing the river birch,
And the oak. Yeah.
right, and the oak on, I think, March 31st. And
Right.
so then I'm trying to get them scheduled to pick up the replacement trees. So, but that should be within the first week or so of April.
The park's been mulched and the daffodils are emerging. Coming up.
They look
Just
pretty.
hope people don't step on them.
Okay,
Because
Thank
they're new. They're new to the beds out there this year. So people might not expect them. That's all I have.
okay. Thank you, Rodney. Marty,
We have submitted our application for grant funding for the West 4th Street planting project, and I don't expect to hear until maybe sometime in April we'll see. Hopefully we'll hear very soon and we can get started with that. I've been just doing more tree tag maintenance and light pruning and tree inspections, and that's all I have so far.
Okay. Thank you, Marty. Lou, Zwannendale Park report?
Yeah, I'll do that first, and then I'll follow it up by the community garden, okay?
Okay.
So in the Swannendale Park, not a whole bunch done. I attended a Zoom meeting for the Tulip Festival planning. I recruited some additional helpers to work on my the days I have work parties. So I recruited a couple more to really add to that group. I pruned the large crepe myrtle bush alongside the Fisher Martin house, as well as several of the bushes along there. I held a work party to rescue the buried pansies. What happened is that when they put all that mulch down, they buried all the pansies. So I called the work party to revive, to sort of separate those from the mulch itself. And then the last thing was the war memorial was pressure washed by the city. On the community garden, we have 20 returning gardeners, leaving 12 beds that will be available for our lottery on March 30th. We currently have 25 individuals on our waiting list, so there's still going to be some people on the waiting list, most likely. Roots and Shoots, a nonprofit teen group sponsored by the library, was approved to rent a bed. They have a grant and they will pay for the bed, and their harvest will be donated to the needy. A master gardener has agreed to help the mentor that group. The Unitarian Universalist Teach a Person to Fish group was also approved to plant one of our 5 community beds. Harvests from all community beds are donated to the needy. We held a meeting with the, I think it was it the president of the BB Hospital? Was that the?
He's a board member. Yes.
Oh, board member. Okay.
Yep.
So we had a meeting with a board member from the BB Hospital to discuss our garden operations with a possibility of partnership with the BB Hospital later on. We had information and training sessions are being organized right now to be conducted for all the new gardeners, which will be selected by our lottery. Our entire lot was bushwhacked and cleared, which resulted in 6 large bushes. 3 of the bushes were marked with pink ribbon, and these will be removed and taken to the landfill by the city. The other 3 were organized as wildlife habitats for the various creatures that inhabit our garden lands. Fundraising is well ahead of schedule. Our involvement with the Do More 24 Delaware campaign was a big success, and we netted $3,000. This does not include any money that we will get from the $75,000 stretch fund, which will be distributed at the end of the month. With grants of $1,000 from Sussex Council, $2,000 from the Delaware River and Bay Authority, and a donation of $1,350 from our board, we have now tallied to date $7,350, which exceeds our $6,800 goal. So we're already over our goal, just 2.5 months into the year. And that's it.
Great, Lou. Lou, I had a question, if you don't mind, about the partnership that you're entertaining with BB. Are you able to say what that involves?
I couldn't understand what you said.
I was asking whether you were able to talk to, with respect to what the partnership with BB involves that you're working on. Are you able to say what that involves?
With BB? Yeah, it was just a filling out type of meeting. He just wanted to understand what we're all about and how we're organized. And he pretty much left it at that. There's a possibility they might partner with us, but they may not. But that was the purpose of the meeting.
So if I may, just a little bit more background. Dave had approached the mayor and had expressed an interest in how they could do a community garden model to help underserved populations that may not have access to healthy, organically grown foods. He had mentioned that some of the other some hospitals across the country had taken up that model. So the mayor referred him to me and Lou and Perrin to just talk about what's already being done in the community. And then that led to potential partnerships, where if they had some volunteers from the hospital who were interested in, working in the garden, and then connecting with people that are underserved or don't have access. And the community garden has, over the past year, donated a significant amount of produce to the food pantries and food banks. So it was kind of a natural fit to start some discussions. So
Yeah.
it was a very good conversation. I think he was very impressed, Lou, with what you and Karen have done.
Well, the thing's going, the problem could be, we're probably going to have to expand more. We're so over committed already with the people that are waiting for beds, with people that, just like I mentioned in my report, organizations that we've given beds to help out and also to donate more to the needy. And until we more, that probably won't be next year. We're probably pretty limited in what we can do.
Thanks, Lou. Are there any other questions for Lou? Okay, we'll move on to George H.P. Smith Park and Harry and Ed. Any?
You want to go, Harry? Okay. We're in the process of trying to transplant some of the saplings along the edge of the pond and just put them in some of the areas that we're seeing the extreme sheeting and erosion. If we lose them, we lose them, but it's worth a shot. The first planting we did, I don't know, 10 or so, and they survived the last few weeks, and we planted a few more. Also, we had a walkthrough, Janet, Harry, and myself, with Mike Ackerman, who brought to us the suggestion of utilizing the park for disc golf. And so we walked the area that we feel would be accommodating for that without interfering with other uses of the park. And excuse me. And he has since then he has a friend who runs the facilities at Cape Pendleton State Park, and they walked it over, and they're going to develop a potential plan for us to review, and then we can move forward with that. It's down the road. It's not until next year's budget, so we're trying to get ahead of that and come up with everything, go through the approval process, budgeting, and everything. I'm sure it's going to ruffle some feathers, but it's where we want to utilize is between the cemetery hill and the pond, and I don't know. I'm in favor of utilizing the park for multiple uses. So we'll come up with our presentation, and in the next month or so. I think his wife is, if she hasn't had the baby, she's right on the verge of having a baby. So I should have something either next month to start a preliminary conversation with the committee. That's it.
Ed?
We also planted 2 trees that Marty gave us, and half a dozen grasses, and we planted those in the narrow part of the park that on the edge of BB Hospital, where we have, as Ed said, the worst sheeting, the worst erosion. Then we went back, and our whole second crop of little tiny evergreens that we planted are in that area too. And hopefully those roots will slow the erosion down a little.
Just so you know, the grasses were switchgrass that I had originally gotten from the library when we took out the switchgrass at the library. And I took them to my house and they were way too big for where I put them because they like to grow big. So I donated them back to GHP because they had a spot for them. And the trees were 2 redbud seedlings that I'd gotten as a freebie someplace. They'd been growing in my yard and they really needed to get out of my yard. They're getting too big. So now they're in GHP. So they should be nice.
We have an incredible amount of runoff from the parking lot. And until we find out what definitively BB is going to do and how that's going to impact us, I don't see us getting too carried away. We can always dig stuff back up. But as far as, structurally, I don't see where we can really do anything until we find out what BB is going to actually do. Because that corner is technically their property. So we're just gonna, if we get some saplings and anything we can do in the short term, that's kind of our plan.
Any other questions for Ed or Harry? Okay. And we'll move on to Candace.
Hello.
Hello.
So we had a meeting with Warren and Christine and I about the question of removing some plant material in a garden bed in Stango Park that resides between Kings Highway and the Children's Learning Garden. They would like to take that material out and replace it with new material at no cost to the city. So we were discussing, how that would all evolve. I have contacted Patrick Olson, and he indicated that he did not believe that there was any irrigation in that particular bed because he didn't install that original irrigation, but there is an electrical meter there. So Miss Utility needs to be contacted, and I've passed that on to the folks in Lewis and Bloom and Children's Learning Garden so they can take the con when they find a contractor to take care of removing the material. That contractor should contact Miss Utility so that it's properly coordinated and everybody knows where all of the lines are, so there's no damage or injuries.
So is it going to be part of their vegetable garden now, or what will it be? Do you know?
No, it'll be plants. Warren, you can talk to the species, but no, it won't be part of the vegetable garden.
Mostly flowers, Marty.
Okay.
It'll
And
permit,
Anything else for the children to help grow, or?
Well, we would like to get the children involved if they would, but they're probably not available at the time they need to be planted, but they can certainly help maintain them and pick them.
this will give more sunshine to the vegetable garden because right now this particular bed blocks all the sun when, from the west. So,
Right. Like
so this would be
yeah.
good opportunity for those vegetables to get a little sun.
Right. I think I looked, I don't think there's any tagged trees there. There's just some really big shrubbery, right? Is that
Right.
It's all shrubs, yes.
Yeah.
Over to you, Christine.
Yes. Thank you. Hello. Yes, on Stango Park and the Library Extended, Patrick Olson completed the project of enlarging the bed in front of the library. And he added an additional drip line to the existing irrigation system, which wasn't too expensive to do. So basically it just gives Lewis and Bloom more room to plant flowers. So, and we all love that. They did a wonderful job last year with limited resources. So anyway, this year they'll have, a little more room for some annuals and bulbs. And that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And Kay, not to put you on the spot on your first meeting, but is there anything that you would like to say about the beaches? I know you have some very, very ambitious ideas and great ideas. So if you would like to just kind of review some of those and anything else that you'd like to say.
Well, sure. Well, thank you. Well, Janet very kindly met with me Saturday afternoon to help me get oriented and get started. This is a completely different kind of commission than I've been on, so I need to get into the program. And I think we'll probably be developing sort of short-term and long-term ideas. Some will need different levels of approval in the city. I need to learn about the forms, how the forms are working. I've printed them out today and been studying those at my lunchtime to see what that situation is. We've talked a lot about signage, helpful signage, welcoming signage. What would work? Where could we get it for free or not much? I have been in contact with the Lewis Lions Club about the beach stand, with Denrec, just making a connection with Mike Powell and Jen Pongratz, who are in charge of shoreline management. And I know them from other things, so that works out well. Talked to the police chief about his ideas and where his department connects with the lifeguards. I haven't spoken to Alicia Hartman, the lifeguard captain yet, but I know her, worked with her over a number of years. So looking forward to that and seeing any issues that she has that we can help out with. And just a number of ideas that I need help getting in order and things that we can do to make everybody's experience better. And I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Any questions for Kay? Okay, we've got a couple of subcommittees and friends groups. Andrew, you had talked about the pickleball subcommittee. Is there anything else to add to that?
I think so. I think we have a meeting. We did schedule another meeting for April, I believe. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Barry is not here to talk about the Public Art Commission. Andrew, do you want to talk about where they're at with their installation?
To be honest, I think they may have signed the contract at this point with the artist. Then I think he also said there'd be a slight delay them getting there. To be like May timeframe where they set up, and then it will go through September. So essentially be here for the summertime.
Okay, so
And
she's not coming in on the 16th of April now?
I thought he said it was pushed back, but I'll reconfirm. But in any event, there was supposed to be an opportunity where I know she's going to stay there in town for a couple of days and have members of a gym are going to help her move the rocks. So apparently from Rise Gym, they're going to meet there and actually under the artist's direction, I guess where to put them. So
right.
That should be maybe a sight to behold when they do get here.
Yeah, I had last heard that they were scheduled to come in on Friday, April 16th and work that weekend, but we'll get that confirmed. Thank you. And Rodney, any reports from the Friends of Canalfront Park?
I don't have any reports. I expect them to have a meeting in the next 2 weeks, and then I'll report on that.
Okay, all right, thank you. And we have a new subcommittee that has met once, 1.5 times. We tried the second time. Candace, do you want to just give an update on where we're at with that committee? We did have to reschedule the second meeting because of technical difficulties.
Yes, yeah, the technical difficulties overcame our efforts. So we're attempting to put together a draft policy for the city for signage where individuals and organizations make contributions to the city and figure out at what level signage is appropriate, what the signage would look like, and that sort of thing. So we're on the beginning phases of pulling together some ideas to put together a policy. And one of the goals, I think we agreed that the policy in question should be consistent with other city policies. So we don't have one policy contradicting another. So the draft that we're looking at the moment is an extract, if you will, of other city policies, but focused on signage associated with donations to the city parks.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Candace? Okay, well, that actually is a segue to, we have no old business, but under E1, under new business, I have received a request for a commemorative tree installation from a family member who would like to honor, the children who would like to honor their mother. And they've made a request. The request should have been attached, but it didn't go through. But basically, we do have a commemorative tree and bench program, and that delineates the process for requesting either a bench to be donated and a plaque put on it in someone's memory or honor. And likewise, a process for donating a tree in the same manner. So this family would like to donate a tree. The person that they are honoring is their mother. She has a great love and appreciation for the bay, the canal, the ocean, everything water in and around Lewis. So they're requesting a tree to be put as close to the water or as near the water as possible. So I wanted to bring it to the commission. Obviously, the park that seems to fit is Canalfront Park, which is a very busy park with a lot of other things being installed in the park. So I wanted to open that up for discussion and ideas, and see what we can come up with for this family for a donation and a location. And I think, Rodney, you had an idea when you and I discussed it briefly.
I did. I think you have to be very careful about accepting things like this and think it through. My experience has been that you can end up with too many trees. If you set a precedent of accepting these, how do you accept? How do you decline? And I'm not familiar enough with the tree and the bench program that the city has, so I'm talking right now with not enough experience, but on that. But it is, since the only idea I had was that since we are replacing some trees in the park that were part of the original design, if they are available, some of them have already been dedicated to people. I don't think all of them are. So if there are trees that have not been dedicated, then I don't think it would be a problem to go ahead and accept that. The idea of changing the design and putting trees right up near the water and things, I don't think we should be doing that for a whole variety of reasons. But so unless there's other suggestions or recommendations from you all, I would take it upon myself to look into the trees that we're replacing and familiarize myself with the program. I don't know, Marty, do you probably know a lot more about this than I do?
Rodney, yeah, that was actually my first thought as well, that we know there's some trees that need to be replaced anyway, and I was not familiar with which ones of them already had dedications on them. So I think that's an excellent suggestion. Another suggestion I would have, if that doesn't work out, is I don't know if they consider Blockhouse Pond suitable water, but there are some trees I would like to add to GHP Park. Would have a lovely water view from the tree. So that would be another suggestion. We could put a nice big shade tree someplace out there.
Right. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
We'll take any trees we can get.
Yes.
Any other thoughts or suggestions?
I've
I think
done
a
the,
palm tree would work too well on Lewis Beach, right, Kay?
I don't think, well, that's, well, I had two things. One was, if they'd be open to other kinds of plantings or a bed or something like that, because Lewis Beach is pretty desolate,
Mhm.
and shadeless. But I don't know if they'd be open to that. I know, I arranged for a tree sponsorship in Zwannendale Park 10 years ago, maybe longer than I care to remember. And I think we went through the city and found what the city needed and then said, yes, that would be great because it was so visible. So, I mean, I certainly, we didn't presume that we knew what the city needed, but we were like, is there a visible place that would be appropriate? So maybe if we had suggestions of different things, maybe they could choose and find something that would suit their purpose. And, if they're generous enough to do this, it would be nice to take advantage of it.
Right. That's a great idea, Kay. And I think that Warren, didn't Lewis and Bloom try and do some plantings down at the beach at one point?
Yes,
And
we did. We planted around the bathrooms, and there was irrigation, but the sand blowing and the wind just destroyed the plantings. We also had barrels where we planted flowers and ornamental grasses, and again, the wind just destroyed them, so we gave up on it.
well, I can certainly talk with them about some other opportunities, but I think that Rodney and Marty's idea is a good one. If we have some replacement trees that are going in a location that has not had a commemorative brick yet, I could pose that family. I could also pose to them the Blockhouse Pond location. The family member that's making the request on behalf of the family resides in Florida. So I'm not quite sure how often he's been to Lewis, how familiar he is with parks, but I can guide him to the website. And there is a photo gallery of all of the parks, and that might kind of direct him in a location. Harry?
We are going to be planting 2 native oaks right at the edge of the buffer to replace the large pair that we took out this year. And those oaks are right on the water. And they're available.
Okay, that's
That's a great idea.
That sounds pretty perfect.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. Okay.
They're gonna be, they're gonna be probably 20 feet from the water.
Right on the edge of the buffer.
And great view of the water. Long-term plans come through, subject to further discussion with mayor and city council. There may eventually be a fishing pier next to them. So all kinds of family will come and use the fishing pier if we get that far. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I was going to mention that I'm not near the water, it's Wandale Park, but we lost a really large tree last year. And so there's a space available to plant a new one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great space for our Arbor Day planting, actually. I would love to get a tree and put it there, a big tree. Yeah.
Okay. Well, those are wonderful suggestions. I know there was a tree that came down in Stango in a storm. Was there any discussion about replacing that at any time? Because that would be another possible location if there was, but.
We haven't discussed replacing that. When the arborist came and looked at the existing trees and they did some trim up, and Marty can speak to the trim up part of it. There was a discussion about this being an opportunity for the existing trees that remain to get some additional sunlight. And the arborist indicated he thought that they would start to fill in because they had been shaded by this very large tree, and their growth was kind of stunted by their environment. So we've not had any discussions, Christine and I, about
Yeah.
putting any
Okay.
replacement trees in that location for that reason.
Okay,
In addition to
Makes
that,
sense.
the tree that came down was at the corner of the stage area, and it actually sort of blocks the view
okay,
of the stage area. So we haven't discussed it, but I don't think we want to plan anything that would block this stage area or replace it in that particular area.
okay,
Okay.
great. Any other discussions on locations? I think what I'll do is go back to the family member and present some of these options, and then we can just move forward from there. I don't know that we need to make a motion now. We'll just table it so that I can get back to the family members, and then we'll make a final determination. Marty, you're
You
muted.
can also point them to Google Maps satellite view to get a feel for, say, what Stango Park looks like, what GHP looks like, and Arbor Scope too, because it shows where all the tag trees are now. So
Okay, great. Wonderful suggestions. I appreciate the feedback. I can, if you all are interested in, I can send out a copy of the policy for the commemorative tree and bench program so that you can all take a look at it. And if there are any suggestions or recommendations for changes, we can entertain those. There's not a date on the document of when it was developed. So I have no perspective of, how long it's been in place and whatnot, but I appreciate if you would like to take a look at it, certainly, and give any feedback.
yeah, Janet and I were talking. I think it's out of date, and
Yeah.
this is, it references a Savannah Road planting project, which is way over out of date.
Right.
So I think we got to edit that. So I
Mm.
hesitate to edit that part of it.
No, I
Christine?
would just like to say that I think that was put together by Janet. Janet was put together, together by Carol Richardson,
Okay,
which would give it a little bit of a date. And I think it
Right.
would be a good idea to revisit it simply because we're looking at, in addition, we want that to work together with what Candace and her committee is working on as well.
right. Okay, so
Mhm.
I will send that out and get that to everybody. I just got a notice that my battery on the laptop is running low. So I was a little distracted there for a moment. But that being said, I think we're coming to the end of our meeting. I don't have anything else on the agenda. I will get that out to all of you. So are there,
If you happen to have a Word version of it, I think a good way to submit proposed changes is to do redlining. If you all know how to do redlining on Word for Windows,
sorry,
that
appeared here for a minute.
would be the easiest way.
Okay, I'm powered up. Sorry
Excellent.
about that. Yes, if I have a Word document, I will send it out that way, and then people can make their comments and we can, make any revisions that we need to. And then everybody can see what other commissioners have put in the document. Okay, is there anything else?
Janet, I think somebody wants to ask a question.
Actually, I think that was Andrew, yes, telling me that he's in the attendees.
Oh, okay.
Yep, but
Made
thank
it.
you. Oh, now I've lost me. Wait a minute. I love technology. All right. So that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move, we adjourn.
Thank you, Rodney. Do I have a
Second.
second? Lou,
I second.
thank you. Okay, we are adjourned. It is 7:21. Thank you all for the discussion
Have a good
and
night.
Bye.
happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy
Yeah.
St.
Bye.
Patrick's
Patrick's
Day.
Day.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey, Janet, while I have you,
Yep.
the commemorative tree program, do you have a Word version of that as well? It was back in 2011. Not the commemorative tree program, the
Yeah, I was gonna say, we just talked about
okay,
this.
yeah, my brain's funny. The tree canopy resolution was issued in 2011, so it may, there's no Word version of that anywhere. But I'm doing research with, trying to get input from the state forester people,
Mhm.
what they expect, because they apparently have standards for a tree canopy resolution they're looking for, because you have to have one in order to apply for a grant, and ours is running out.
Right. September.
And I've sent an email, I've made a phone call, I still don't have a response yet, but at some point, I'm gonna have to write up a proposed revised version of a tree canopy.
I'll see what I can find. I don't know that I have a Word document, but
Well,
I
2011, so.
yeah, but you'd be surprised at what's in the files on the computer. So I'll try and dig that up.
Well, the other thing is, if somebody in your office has Acrobat Pro, which I would think somebody would have it,
Oh, yeah, we do.
somebody take the Acrobat, the PDF and convert it back to Word. And
Right.
Acrobat Pro.
No, we do have it. We do have it. So I'll see if I can do that.
Okay,
Okay. All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye, Ed. Isn't this